Hey, good morning, everybody. So this is a little flyer regarding our Christmas party that's up and coming on December 4th. We'll be sending out for the RSVP very soon, and you'll be RSVPing to Andy, the wonderful party organizer. So we're looking forward to it. Again, it's on December 4th. Cocktail hour starts at, I believe it's 5:45, and we will have appetizers, we will have meals. We have the same caterer as last year, so it's going to be every bit as delicious. We're going to have more appetizers for those of you that made that request. There will be a bar for those of you that wish to partake, and there'll be entertainment, and we need a few of you to partake in that as well, so stay tuned. So, speaking of Andy, Andy's going to be away from the office starting tomorrow, but she'll be returning back to the office the following Monday. So if you need help and you usually reach out to Andy, make sure that you reach out to one of us and we'll make sure you get the help that you need. So some of the subjects that we discussed today at the business meeting, we welcomed Maureen Fath, who's a new broker at Puyallup, Maine, and we congratulated Carrie. Carrie works with Paul Coldiron as his assistant, and she passed her license exam this weekend. So that's very cool. A lot of you remember what that's like. We recapped on the foundation night. If you didn't know, we just at foundation night alone, we earned $28,000 for the John L. Scout Foundation, just at that one event. It's really amazing what this company does for children's hospitals in our regions. It's really impressive, and it's good to be a part of that. Tina gave us a little bit of an update. There is a conventional program out there that after a short sale, you do not have to wait a year in order to qualify, depending on your credit score. After a bankruptcy, you have to wait only a year. For more information, please reach out to Tina Dworsky. So Northwest MLS has some changes. They've made an area reconfiguration. We've been talking about this for probably a month now. You can go to the Discover site and see what those boundary changes are. But there's also some rule changes and some discipline changes. I'm going to start backwards. The discipline change is an addition to the discipline process. If you have found that you have violated a rule, or let me say it differently, Northwest MLS finds that you have violated a rule, rather than put you through a hearing, if it's a common rule violation, Northwest MLS is going to have a strong feel as to what a hearing panel would usually apply for a penalty. Northwest MLS would contact you and said, you know, it's really obvious that this was a violation. Here's your sanction. Do you accept that sanction? If you say no, you may still go through the hearing process if that's your preference. I don't expect that any of you are going to have that kind of conversation with Northwest MLS because, you know, we're all just the rule abiders. But just in case something happens, I wanted you to be made aware of that opportunity. Now, in regards to those rules, a couple of changes. One is a little bit more specific when it comes to the seller restricting offers being presented live. And the new rule under restrictions states the seller requires the listing member prohibit in-person offer presentations by the selling office. So it's a reminder that you need to have that instruction in writing from your client. Also under restrictions, a new addition. The seller requires that all previews or showings of the property, including previews and showings by the listing member, not take place until a date more than 24 hours after the property is listed. This is under the category of when we need seller's written instructions. So in other words, if you take a listing today being the 3rd, and that listing is going to go active tomorrow, the showing instructions say that no showings until 23 hours afterwards. Not a problem. You don't need written instructions. If the showing instructions say that showings will not happen until 24 hours or later after the listing becomes active, then you must have the seller's written instructions for that showing limitation. If I've confused you, call me, email me. I'll try to see if I can confuse you a little bit more. Another change is under the electronic key and key boxes. And we've already been practicing this way, but when previewing or showing a property with a Northwest MLS key box installed, the subscriber responsible for accessing the property shall register their subscriber key with the key box. Even if you're not using the key box to gain access, for instance, somebody else is showing the property and hands the key to you, when they're done showing, you still have to sign in via the key box so that your activity in that home has been accounted for. On key box removal, upon a firm sale, the listing office may remove the key box. It used to say will. So it's a little bit more now at our discretion. And then they added, upon closing, expiration, or release, the listing office shall remove the key box within 24 hours. And then in regards to business cards, I'm not going to read this one to you, but I'll give you the synopsis of what it says. When you leave a business card in a property, if it's at a showing, that business card cannot have any kind of solicitation on it. In other words, it can't say, I'm an amazing buyer's agent, you should work with me. Or, I sell X amount of properties in this neighborhood specific. You want your home sold? Call me. Anything that could be construed as interrupting with an existing agency relationship cannot be left behind in a seller's home. Now, if it's an open house and you're hosting that open house and you have marketing pieces that endorse your services, that's a different scenario. I'm talking about when you go to show and the home isn't open. You may not leave any pieces of information that could be interpreted as a solicitation. So, a few more things on here. We, meaning Eric and myself, are going to be reaching out to you for your business plans. I sent those out earlier to you today. And when we have the one-on-ones, we're going to be asking you for your commitment to the buyer's certification and the seller's certification. We want to make sure that you're taking the opportunity to differentiate, to have your current skill set tweaked. And it may not need it, but it's a good measure as to what you're currently doing and what other opportunities there are for you to enhance your presentation. And then lastly, we discussed FIRPTA. So it was in the slide deck today about FIRPTA, and I'm wondering if maybe, as an office, when we receive an offer, or when we're, I'm going to change that, when we're writing an offer, we possibly, and I'm not firm on this yet, should be stating that the seller is a foreign person, and then let the seller counter back to us. And here's my thought. If we're not stating in that offer that the seller is a foreign person, there's no instruction to the escrow company for them to talk to the seller specifically and say, here, it says that you're a foreign person, so we're going to withhold 10% of your net proceeds. At that point, the seller can say, no, I'm not. Here's proof that I'm not. If we're just leaving that sentence on the front page of the purchase and sale agreement blank, and escrow isn't in tune and doesn't ask if indeed they are a foreign person, or if the seller lies about being a foreign person, that 10% net proceeds withholding now becomes our buyer's responsibility should the IRS pursue them. So maybe it's more cautious to approach the seller with the seller is a foreign person and then let the seller change that. Keeping in mind that right in the purchase and sale agreement, it states that any change to that one sentence specific is not a counter offer. So think about it. We'll have more discussion on this in the future. I think it's a prudent position to take, but I'm still processing. So you process too. Give me any feedback. I appreciate it. Really value the participation that we had today in the meeting. Eric and I are always happy to see you on Tuesday mornings, and I know that you're happy to see each other. Make it a great day. Thanks.